Hello, my name is Rachel, and today I'm going to tell you about a few exciting new releases that came out this week on Tuesday, February 21st, 2017. And I do try to post these videos on Tuesday when the books come out, but for the second week in a row, it just didn't work out. So again, I am sorry I'm late. I hope you'll forgive me, but let's jump into the books. First up is the book that I read for this week, and that is Beautiful Broken Girls by Kim Savage. I would definitely say this is a YA novel. The genre, I would say, could either go contemporary or maybe a little mystery. And I would say my best description of this book would be if John Green wrote The Virgin Suicides. I feel like that's what this is. It's a book with alternating points of view. We hear from Ben, who is the neighbor boy to the beautiful Celio girls, and we hear from both sides. And the Celio girls have recently been found drowned at the bottom of the local quarry, and Ben is basically following these notes that the sister that he fell in love with has left him along the way. And what I thought was really sweet was that all of the notes were left in places that he would remember, where he and the sister had some sort of intimacy. And I just love that. I liked that you got to see how much he was involved with her and how she kind of responded to him, and that these places were really important to both of them. But you learn all these weird things that were happening behind closed doors that most people didn't know about, leading up to the death of these two sisters. And I have to say I was kind of surprised by some of the things. It did get a little strange, but you know, if it wasn't a little bit strange, I think you would be able to tell what was coming exactly. So I liked this one. I did think there was some kind of extraneous plot lines that were happening, though, that were a little bit confusing, and they kind of took you off course a little bit. But overall, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it if it's something that seems like it would be interesting to you. I think it was worth the read, and I absolutely love the cover. I thought it was beautiful before, but I think it just ties in so well with the whole book that it's a perfect cover for this book. That's all I have to say. So, on to the next book. It's one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and I was so excited. Even though I haven't read it yet, I got it a couple days early because my bookstore put it out, I think accidentally, over the weekend. So I got a copy this weekend, and not that I've been able to read it, but it is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. It is the third and final book in the Shades of Magic series, and if you have not read this series, I highly, highly recommend it. The first book was called A Darker Shade of Magic, and the second book was called A Gathering of Shadows, and I just love all the titles, but this basically follows the story of Kel, who is a blood magician, and he can travel between parallel Londons, and it's so good. There's so many interesting characters, and it's so vivid and descriptive that I think you can really visualize all of the characters and the plot lines and the places so well with these books. I highly recommend it. I cannot wait to get to this one and wrap up this series. I am so excited. And if you have not read the series at all yet, again, I highly recommend it. You need to start with the first book, which is A Darker Shade of Magic. Next up is a travel memoir that I think sounds awesome, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read because I don't like sad books, and I think this one's going to be a little emotional. This one's called Traveling with Ghosts by Shannon Leon Fowler, and this is about a woman who was traveling abroad with her fiance when he is suddenly stung by, I think it's a box jellyfish, and they're supposed to be one of the most poisonous animals in the world, and within minutes he's dead, and she has to deal with this by herself then in a foreign country. And then she has to come to terms with the fact that her life is totally derailed in a matter of minutes, and she decides to go on traveling alone, and she's just dealing with the grief process. And it just sounds like a beautiful story, but it sounds like it's going to be super emotional, so I'm not sure it's for me. But I know a lot of you would be interested in this, so I wanted to share it because totally caught my interest. If you do read it, please let me know what you think and give me a tearjerker rating so I can decide if I can handle this one. But again, it sounds awesome. It's called Traveling with Ghosts. Next up, I'm not gonna lie, I picked this one solely based on the cover, but I'm excited. The more I read about it, the more interesting it sounded. It's called Evening's Land by Pauline West, and what caught my attention when I started researching this book is that it was kind of marketed as an Anne Rice meets Neil Gaiman, which That sounds pretty good. I don't think it's gonna be able to live up to that hype. I shouldn't say it can't, but I just feel like that's, you know, that's setting the bar pretty high. So we'll see. Like I said, I picked this mostly based on the cover. I don't know too much about this other than the fact that it's kind of like a gothic romance. So I'm very interested to read this one and see what it's about and see if it's Anne Gaiman-ish, if you will. Next up is another one that I'm super excited for. It's called Ronette and Jameel, I think is how you say it. It's by Pamela Laskin. This is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet in verse. However, it's dealing, or rather set in the controversy of the Israel and Palestine conflict, which I just love that. I think that would be so awesome for kids to be able to read something relevant. You know what I mean? Because to them, I don't think they would understand why Romeo and Juliet's families would be feuding. Like, that just seems so odd, I think, to present day teens. But if you give them some real life context of something like the Israel-Palestine conflict, I think it makes a lot more sense. And you're bringing in all this other content with it. So I think this has a huge potential to really give kids and students and English teachers and classes something to discuss and really dig into. And I'm just so excited for this one. It sounds like it's going to be awesome. And the last one's, I would say, a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I've read this author before, and I really, really enjoyed the experience. The author's name is Stephen Batchelor, and I believe the book that I read was called Living with the Devil, and it was just a conversation on good versus evil, and I really, really enjoyed that one. So when I saw this one, I decided to give it a try. I'm hoping to read this one pretty soon. It's called Secular Buddhism, and this is really a meditation on the current climate of adopting mindfulness and meditation practices without necessarily adopting a Buddhist religious aspect, and if that is as beneficial to people, and if it can be done, and if it can, then how well is it working for people, and what's the best way to do it. I guess it's just kind of a conversation of taking pieces from of a religious kind of viewpoint, a spirituality, without taking all of it. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting concept because I've really been reading a lot about mindfulness and meditation lately, so this seemed like kind of the perfect read to go with all that reading. So I'll definitely be giving this one a chance. And again, I read a Stephen Batchelor book before, and it gave me a lot to think about. So I'm looking forward to that element. So those are my top picks for this week. I hope you found something you're excited about. If there's any that I missed that you would like to share, please let us know down below. And thank you for watching. I will see you again soon with my next video. Bye for now.